Thank you so much. I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
De Melos.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in Turkey, including
De Melos.
fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther. To talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now. Russ, I'm not going to fan out and tell you what some of my favorite songs were that I literally repeat on yours.
Deus me ajude, né, cara?
So we got to talk about, recently you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture and music, and you also were very candid about the fact that you have a privilege and that's necessary for you to give back. Tell everybody about what that means.
I feel like it's
olha.
and I'm in black culture. Person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. It's that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy.
A gente nem sabe se ele tá gravando, né? Mas tudo bem.
Oh, that sucks for y'all.
Eu acabei de iniciar uma live no meu canal.
Now, it's just obviously elevated. It's a new level and there's new,
Vários
it's to the point
rindo,
now where you can't, first of all, you can't not say anything. Second of all, though, I
não, tá louco, eu nem tenho dinheiro hoje.
Put money back into a culture that you're financially benefiting from. You have the ability to, you should.
It's interesting that you talk about it in that way because some people do believe that silence is the best way to go because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're white and you're in black culture. People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege of the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality, what's going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent.
Eu tenho um balão no...
That's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I mean, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a country that I'm not from. But that's why when we decided to raise the money for Black Lives Matter organizations, when we raised $500,000, we got on the phone with some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to like the correct places, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
Let's talk about that for a moment because the way
Quantos anos você
I
tem?
think of activism, for me, it looks very differently. It's not necessarily just protesting on the front line. I think that's great. But what about being an activist in the way in which you have decided to be one? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do? Walk us through everything that you did.
Eu tô pra evitar, tem problema?
So for me, it was 3 years ago. I had like a string of festivals, and I decided that I was gonna wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better time to use a platform than in front of So one of the T-shirts I wore was, if you want to change the system, speak up, white silence is pro-racism, the whole thing. And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. But when all this stuff started happening again, and it's been happening, police brutality against innocent black people, I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most white fans in the world, but I got a good amount of people that I can definitely mobilize and turn into some money, and I know they're down for the cause because it's merch, it's a good thing, and I've always been outspoken anyway, and so how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken about racism?
And then I got to ask you this because you grew up in Atlanta, so that gives you a heads up, depending for so many people, because you're in the crux of that beautiful black city where there are so many wonderful black leaders, almost so much great music, and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are really, really getting our word out, especially with this platform today, and saying that we must use our voice to vote.
Yes, eu não gosto dele, cara.
The importance of voting for you in this upcoming election.
Yeah, so I, full
Olha,
transparency,
eu
I had
gosto.
never voted before, ever. Um, and because I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't matter, and and I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that,
Legal.
I don't know, but I just think that it's got to,
Sei
now
lá, velho, pode ser.
this is a bit of a privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me, because obviously it's been past the breaking point for Black people, but I think that as a whole, the young people need to get out and vote, because we're the ones that never show up. You know what I mean? We
Ah,
never show up to
galera,
vote,
se inscreve
but
no meu canal.
we're the future. So it's like, look, we got to go out there and
Enzo.
vote, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least we did our part. We got to do our
É,
part.
Very
o
candidly
nome do
said
meu
that you just
canal é
suspended the vote, and
Enzo
I think
de
there's a beautiful
Melos.
irony in the fact that you have your fans saying, "Because of you, I'm voting,"
Right.
and there's something beautiful about that. But I want to know why
Enzo de
now for
Melos.
you. Why in this moment is it important for you to vote, and what hit your
De
spirit to say, "Yes,
Melos.
this is the time to do it"?
Honestly, because
Isso!
I think that George Floyd really uh, woke up a
É
lot
meu
of people,
sobrenome.
including myself, who I was vocal and outspoken about racism. I put it in my lyrics. I put it on T-shirts. I would talk about
É o
it
quê?
in interviews. Like, I was vocal about it. But that video in that moment, I think me, along with a lot of other people, just kind of was like, all right, like words are simply not enough anymore. We gotta do something, whether it's raising money, whether it's voting, or all the above. Like, we got to do
É
something,
verdade?
and I'm ashamed that it took that
Tu
for
tem um
me
canal no
to
YouTube?
be like, I need to raise money and I need to vote. It's a shame, and I don't know. I guess it snapped a bunch of people out of it. And even if you were vocal and whatnot, it's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote.
Teu
It's
canal?
time to just stop
Tu
talking
tem um
about it and be
canal?
about it. And it's been time for that, but like I said, I'm ashamed that it took
Ah,
me this long to actually really, really be about it.
eu sei.
But
Tu acabou de
I'm
falar pra
here
mim.
now.
So, Russ, we all know that this is going to be your first time voting. Tell
Qual é
me
o
what
nome do
that
canal dele?
experience is going to be like for you in terms of what you're excited about.
I think you know what it's gonna do for me. It's gonna let me know that I'm contributing to something bigger
Tem
than
que escrever o
myself,
quê?
and I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm being about it, because for so long, and I know I'm not alone with this, but standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that and this should change, and it's like, all right, but did you vote? you know and so I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role.
Não
And that's the
encontrou
problem. I think that
nada.
I think the mentality of like, my vote doesn't matter needs to be changed to, my vote, albeit small,
Achei.
does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their part, then we make a difference. But
A minha voz.
I have a feeling it's gonna it's
O
gonna feel
Álvaro.
very,
O Álvaro, eu vou
very
mandar
bigger
oi
than me.
aí
I
no
think
teu live.
when you realize that giving actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So voting is an easy way to
O
give.
Álvaro tem 14 inscritos.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you have been given a huge platform, and we are so grateful for you.
O Álvaro tem quantos anos?
Artist, community activist, first time voter. We appreciate you for doing this, okay?
Thank you.
Tchau.
Appreciate y'all.
Quem é que está na minha live aí?
So cities
Manda
like Atlanta
oi.
and Chicago have been at the forefront of the discussions, especially now in this country when we're talking about COVID-19 and systemic racism, as well as again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. We can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you. I brought in Atlanta and Chicago because I know you grew up in
Ô,
the
Brisa.
metropolitan area of Atlanta, more
Deixa eu
specifically
mandar
Atlanta. Was technical.
pedido de amizade.
And you have been very vocal throughout this entire time in terms of what our country's been experiencing. Let's
Vamos botar aqui. Aí, eu já vou lá, tá?
We've had people protesting, wanting to get the message out, but I really realized that I need to be a part of the positive message and make sure that doesn't get lost in all the chaos going on, for people to actually hear from a reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved.
A reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved, which leads us to More Than a Vote. It is a beautiful collective of Black athletes and artists. You are a part of that. Talk to me about why that's important for you right now, and this be a part of that collective.
To me personally, it's important to be a part of that because
bora.
I somewhat use baseball and my craft as an excuse to not get more involved in voting, but I can't any longer use baseball and work as an excuse not to get educated and not also to.
Ô, Brisa, é que daí vai tampar a tela pra eles. Só deixa um pouquinho pro lado aí.
So tell me in your words, what does activism look like for you?
In my words, it looks like LeBron James, the biggest athlete right now on the planet, speaking up and breaking the ice for everyone. And I think for the first time, people see and hear from us. So now we have white teammates, we have
Bora, Breno.
speaking up and realizing, okay,
Só deixa acabar aqui.
about doing this. And to me, right now, social media, athletes speaking up, entertainers speaking up, like we're trying to do with More Than a Vote.
You said something I thought was so key because
quem topa pro YouTube?
I know that it's tough for Black players specifically in Major League Baseball to talk about how they feel. Adam Jones did it
Bora,
in a very
Breno.
eloquent way early on, but
Do YouTube, eu boto aqui, nós vê.
You said you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
We was afraid because in 2019 there were 68 of us total. And there are 38 teams. There's 25-man roster on each team. There's a 40-man roster, which is on each team as well. And there aren't many of us. So we're outnumbered in that sense, but not always in a negative way when it comes to our teammates and our clubhouses. But to get to this point, you have to move a certain way. You got to be careful what you say. You can't ruffle feathers. You can't come off in any way. Much like other Black entertainers, much like yourself. Probably have
de dia lá, velho.
Every day, but to get to the highest level, you gotta button up, you gotta be seen and not heard. So baseball is, like I said, it's time for us to try and speak up and make a difference and show it's okay to do so because we can't be quiet any longer.
That is a button up, be quiet, be seen but not heard. That is an expression that a lot of Black folks can relate to.
A internet dela tá travando pouco.
Of professionalism that they experience, especially if they don't work for themselves. They just feel that. That is also a socialization that we have as Black folks, especially, like you said, if you want to get to the higher level. And for so long, I felt it bubbling right underneath the surface that so many of us who were in whatever positions we were, who had platforms, were tired of pretending and looking the other way and spending so much time making others comfortable while
Brisa.
sustainable.
Mano, eu vou sair aqui pra jogar com um amigo meu, tá, mano? Já volto aí, já vou falar aqui na minha live pra todo mundo se inscrever aí no canal. Que é, gente, ó. Deixa eu voltar. Deixa eu vir aqui. Aqui, ó. A live dele o nome do canal dele é Álvaro Cruz. Quem quiser entrar aí, ele tá live agora do evento. Falou aí, véi. Boa live aí. Guys, vou dar um mijão. Já voltei.
Entertainers to get that message out and use our platform in that sense as a group, and try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election coming. Make sure that it's about people getting educated for years to come and figure out where to vote and how to vote. We've got people in different areas that cover different demographics and influence different areas of people. And as a baseball player, as a Black baseball player, I feel like now, like we talked about, is finding the time to show people that you can use your voice in this profession. You don't have to be afraid. And to me, that can help a kid growing up. He can see me, he can see other guys that were in the video we posted saying, hey, this is what they're standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was before. So I feel like that's my awareness. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to lead by example. I can't just always, come up with a good answer that sounds good on TV. When I get asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes, I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself. For one, so many people, I feel like in Atlanta, they're on the move. Or when you want to try to make a vote and try and cast your vote, you have to do it by mail. You have to sign up for the absentee ballot.
A vote.
Get another ballot in return. They have to send it back to you. Well, for me personally, they didn't send that back until it was too late. Right? We didn't get it in the mail to the address that's an Atlanta address at my parents' house. We didn't get that in the mail until it was too late. And then from other friends and family members still in
Voltei.
I just hear about them being held in lines too long and trying to get off work. We know how it is for any family, but let alone black families.
Deixa eu botar aqui. Vamos começar. Ô, Breno, convidei. So I saw Mayor Keisha Reach out via social media and say, hey, I'm going to address these issues right now. I need y'all to stay in line and cast your votes. Keep hanging in there. So to me in Georgia, that's what that looks like.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because there have been all these specifically in Georgia, because that's such a battle, where you see people, especially when
Meu Deus do céu!
This is real life voters.
Meu Deus do céu.
It's not fake. What you're saying, these examples.
Isso daqui é
too late after the fact.
É criativo ou é
at 6 o'clock while people still are in line. That's a real
ou
life
é
issue. There needs to be some type of change. And I think
cativeiro, cara. Caraca, pai, o cabelo.
The idea of voter suppression.
Carabado, perfume caralho.
Especially with
MC Matheus foi expulso do grupo. Ué, os moleques estão todos sendo expulsos do grupo, cara. O moleque tá me flodando de convite, cara.
Everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows that the time is now. There is more attention to us. We have their eyes, we have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about in terms of seeing the change?
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. The word is being spread right now. The biggest athletes, icons, biggest entertainers are doing their part. I'm also seeing people out there on the streets doing their part.
Onde é que tá, Breno?
Got lost. It very easily got in the commotion when it came to protest. You saw rioting, you saw looting. People still stood their ground. People still went out there and said, hey, we're doing this for the right reasons. We're going to come together. We're going to use drones. We're going to use social medias. I feel like this is a new way of getting things done the right way.
You're right about that. And you're right. People are spreading the word unapologetically. We out here. We doubling down. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to welcome a friend, a brother, family member, if you will.
Já tá no tempo já do mapa. Fica todo cheio de...
Philanthropist. He's here to this time, this platform to talk about something that is so important, that is voting. Everybody, welcome Golden Rose to We the People. Talk to me about how important it is.
A gente vai morrer, cara.
You and love you and look up to you. Why is it so important that you use your platform to talk about voting?
Initially,
Tá safe, brother. A gente vai morrer.
The mental systemic racism that comes with the presidential race, governors, mayors, senators, judges. We've been conditioned to believe that our vote does not matter. So usually when we looked up at all of those races and people that were running, not only did they not look like us, we didn't believe they were there to represent our best interests. So therefore, as a collective, we didn't mobilize until Barack Obama, and we felt a sense of hope that finally our country is going to do something that we felt would never happen in our lifetime. And I remember being at the inauguration in 2008. I made sure I was there. And we voted in 2016. We didn't vote, Carrie. We didn't vote. And so many people try to make this political. This is not political. Me telling somebody to vote is like telling somebody to pay taxes. So that's one, getting over the stigma of nobody is going to represent our best interest. And then number two, the reality is that the
Vai tacar no
person that
bagulho
gets
em
the
mim,
most
vou ver
votes
se tem aqui no.
doesn't necessarily win the presidency. That's uncomfortable right there. Because that's actually what
Pode,
took place in
pode, mano. Liga aí,
2016.
liga aí.
The Electoral College chose the president. And if you put
Pera
all
aí,
of
deixa eu
those
entrar no
people together,
Instagram aqui.
I'm pretty
Continua,
sure they look a
continua.
lot more like each other than they look like you and I. How about that? And then the third thing, especially in urban environments, oh man, they create barriers for us, Carrie. It's like you got to jump over the fence, you got to run past the dog, you got to
Vai,
jump
tô
on
te
the
ligando.
fence.
Pode ir lá, pode ir lá,
The
pode ir lá.
lines is 5 hours long. You get up to the pole and they don't work. Elderly people working in the city, while they got the young people who understand technology working in the suburbs. Like these are all systematic things that try to discourage us from voting. And then finally,
Aham, só
we
tem
don't
nós
have a
dois
day off
aqui.
to vote. We need to work. So we don't get a day off. It's gonna be a full day, and I gotta work to pay my bills. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mail in vote. And you know what you want people to realize that counts too. So your vote will be counted if you're able to mail it in.
Eles não
So
estão
those are a
escutando,
few
eu acho.
things
Não
that I
sei.
hope that we can do and mobilize. And shout to LeBron and his team. Shout to you and everybody involved. We will make a difference.
Well, let's talk about more than a vote. There is a black collective of athletes, of artists, coming together and saying that voter suppression is a real deal, especially in the black community. When you just talked about,
Continua atacando, por favor, continua atacando. Continua atacando, continua
we don't
atacando.
have to work, do we know who we're voting for? Not only do we have to vote, we have to be educated. And it's not always even about the man who's in office or the woman who's in office for president. It's about your local elections. It's about the people who are your DAs, your state DAs, like the people who actually make sure that your community is taken care of. You need to fund police and hope that they can help you in stopping police brutality. So talk to me about why you decided to be a part of More Than a Vote.
Ah, tá aparecendo assim. Agora a live desbugou, a live desbugou. Se tiver bugado, é pra tu sair e entra.
As you mentioned. And I said this multiple times, and I know it can be uncomfortable when I say it, but a lot of times we have to get to the root of the issue before we find the solution. And the quote was, I wish America loved black people as much as it loves black culture.
Vai dar quanto de dano?
This collective, by the way, represents in a lot of ways what's encouraging, but also sometimes disappointing about our role as black people in America. Because we were brought here as labor and to entertain. And we use those vehicles to get paid and move to the suburbs and be the idols of white kids. And so now that we have this collective, I would say sports
Eu só tô vendo minha live.
represent the most powerful group of black men in the United States. I'm talking about money, power, celebrity, the ability to mobilize, community involvement.
Só tem nós dois na minha live.
And so to have all of us pull it in the same direction at the same time for anything.
Essa safe tá tirando 10 de dano, cara.
It's gonna be a difference maker, but it's definitely gonna be a difference maker in the 2020 vote because we're gonna make sure we inform everybody that
Tu tá bem bom na matemática, né, cara?
it's not an option.
Jalen, what is voter suppression?
Tu tá bem bom na matemática, hein, cara?
An example took place recently, Carrie, in Kentucky. It was 6 p.m. at night.
Ah, é porque 10 tira 20, né?
And you know what they did? Lock the doors. You know what the people did?
10 tira 20, né? Aham, 10 tira 20.
Bang on the window. They continue to let it be known.
Abre essa porta, abre essa porta, abre essa porta, abre a porta aqui.
Until they got a chance to vote. And you know what ended up happening? They opened those doors and allowed those people to vote. So do not be discouraged. These barriers show you
Não, tá louco.
we're here to help you break through them. The same thing with our platforms and voices, Carrie, because you know what's going to happen. At some point, Breonna Taylor is not going to be trending anymore. People are not going to be protesting anymore. But it's still up to us to keep making sure that our voices get heard, and this is one way to do so.
Eu morri.
Being an activist, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to look like what you think traditionally activism looks like. It's voting. It's that simple.
We now have to understand, like, this is a critical mass moment for this movement to continue to hold up as much steam for as long as possible.
Todo mundo tá assistindo a live.
What this collection is going to hopefully allow for that situation to happen.
Caleb, in today's age of technology, it should be easier to vote.
No doubt. It's like
quando eu saio, eu não consigo parar de te ver.
All of the things that we do in our lives are in our phones. All of these barriers are things that people will need to overcome in order to create a level of enthusiasm to vote. And again, this is
Quita aí. Eu já quitei já, cara. Não. Quita. Quita e expulsa um carinha ali.
Mano, se eu chegar no livro, eu não quitei, não abri. Eu consigo comprar alguma coisa que tá de 200 na loja.
Eu consigo comprar duas coisas que tá de 200 na loja.
Consegue comprar qual?
A travadinha.
Travadinha? Qual dança? Ah, você tá falando da temporada 3?
Não, a travadinha, mano. Temporada 9, 200 debucks.
Ah, eu não consigo comprar ela e a acho que eu prefiro. Mano, o que tem a ver a picareta do grupo tá com os bagulhos lá dos caras
Que?
Não tem a picareta do grupo?
Aham.
Então, o que tem a ver a picareta do grupo estar junto com isso?
É porque se tu for ver lá no pré-visualizar estilos, eles são de Glup.
Assim.
Eu acho, não sei.